then they can go to this NCLT for the relief. Power to instruct the firm to reopen its accounts or to enable the company to modify the financial statements. NCLT has a right as a power to instruct the companies, instruct the firms to enable to modify the financial statements. The firm may also apply to the tribunal for the modification of its financial statements through its directors. Any modification in the financial statements, it can be done with the help of this NCLT. Authority to investigate or initiate an inquiry. NCLT has a complete authority to initiate and to investigate on any particular inquiry. Provisions are made to help foreign nations, investigation agencies, courts with their inquiry process. NCLT has complete rights to provide a provision for the foreign investigation offices within India. So these are the functions of NCLT. Then the next one we have is competition policy and law. Competition policy helps to promote and protect the competitive processes and provides a level playing field for all the enterprises. As we can see in the market, there are a number of organizations which are competing with each other. With the help of competition policy, it will promote the competition. Along with that, it will protect the competition. There must be a healthy competition going on between the enterprises. Fair and effective competition contributes to improvements in the economy. If there is a healthy competition among the organizations, it will improve the economic efficiency, it will improve the growth as well as the development as well as the consumer welfare. Competition policy basically covers a set of policies that promote competition in local and national markets, as well as competition law that comprises specific legislations and regulations aimed at preventing anti-competitive agreements. So policy will have the competition policy will promote the competition in local as well as the national level, whereas law will consist of legislations or regulations, rules that will help the organizations in preventing anti-competitive agreements or dominance of one company over other dominance of one company on the market, and to prevent the anti-competitive mergers. Competition law is a codification of rules designed to promote and sustain market competition. As I mentioned, policy helps in promotion, whereas law will give you the rules, set of rules and regulations which will help in promoting and sustaining the market competition. Competition is an act of sellers individually seeking to acquire the patronage of buyers in order to achieve profits or make shares. So the simple meaning of competition is taking the sellers will individually seek and acquire the patronage, that is the requirements of the buyers will be taken into consideration, and accordingly after making the products and selling the products, the companies will achieve profits or the market share. That particular activity we call it as competition. The Competition Act 2002 was enacted by the Parliament of India and replaced the Monopolies and Restrictive Trade Practices Act 1969, that is MRTP Act. It is effective to govern Indian competition law. The two main features of Competition Act 2002 is the framework it provides for the establishment of Competition Commission. So one of the feature is to establish a Competition Commission, and the tools to provide it to prevent anti-competitive practices and promote positive competition, to eliminate the negative competition, to prevent the anti-competitive practices, and to promote the positive competition in Indian market. Competition Act 2002 came into existence. When we see the objectives of Competition Act helps to prevent practices having adverse effect on the competition, that is negative effect on the competition. To promote and sustain competitions in the market, it helps in promoting the competition, healthy competition among the organizations. To protect the interest of the consumers, it helps in protecting the interest of the consumers. To ensure freedom from trade carried on by their participants in the market in India, that is free flow of trade from goods and services from one location to the another location, is easily takes place with the help of this Competition Act. Then we have Competition Commission. The objectives of Competition Commission is to prevent practices that harm the competition. Any practices which is having a negative impact on the competition, that must be prevented. That can be taken up by this Competition Commission to promote and sustain competitions in the market, to protect the interest of the consumers, to ensure the freedom of trade. So all these are similar to the Competition Act and the Competition Commission. Competition Commission in India, the functions are ensuring that the benefit and welfare of the consumers are maintained in the Indian market. It is the consumer must be benefited and the welfare of the society must be taken care. That is with the help of this Competition Commission. An accelerated and inclusive economic growth through ensuring fair and healthy competition in the economic activities of the nation. So it is the accelerated and inclusive economic growth. Then ensuring the efficient utilization of nation's resources. The limited resources must be utilized in a better way. That can be taken up with the help of this Competition Commission. Commission also undertakes competition advocacy. Any suggestions? It is also the antitrust ombudsman for small organization. It also acts as a ombudsman for the small scale industries or organizations. The Competition Commission of India will also scrutinize any foreign company that enters the Indian market. Any foreign organization entering the Indian market, it will scrutinize the foreign company. Competition Commission of India also ensures interaction and cooperation with regulating authorities of the economy. The regulating authorities like you have TRAI in IRDAI or RBI. So other regulatory bodies, it will have a cooperation and interaction with them. It also acts as a business facilitators. It will facilitate to the business development. So this is about Competition Commission. Then we have financial markets. Financial markets are the center that facilitate buying and selling of financial instruments, claims, or services. It is a market where the buying and selling of financial instruments, claims, or services will take place. It is defined as a transfer mechanism between the investors and the borrowers. The investors and the borrowers are the parties who will deal in the financial markets, through which transfer of funds is facilitated. Transfer of funds will take place in the financial market. It consists of individual investors, financial institutions, and other intermediaries who are linked by a formal trading rules and communication network for trading the various financial assets and credit instruments. Now, under the classification of financial markets, we have two main financial markets. One is money market and capital market. Let us discuss individually about this money market and capital market. Now, money market deals with the near substitutions for the money or near money like trade bills, promissory notes, and government papers. Draws for a shorter period not exceeding 1 year. Any instrument which is not having a tenure of more than 1 year that deals with the money market instruments. It is a mechanism which makes it possible for the borrowers and the lenders who meet together to deal in short term funds. So, money market is specially meant for this short term funds. It does not refers to a particular place where short term funds will are dealt with. It includes all individuals. See, when we say market, market doesn't mean a physical market, but it is a virtual market where all the individuals, institutions, or the intermediaries who are dealing with the short term funds will meet together. So, that particular activity we say it as a money market. Now, when we see the features of money market has no geographical constraints. As I mentioned, it is not a physical market, so there is no geographical constraints of this money market as that of stock exchange. Even though there are various centers of money market such as Mumbai, Calcutta, Chennai, etc., they are not separate independent markets but are interlinked and interrelated. Now we have several areas where these money market transactions will take place, but not separately. All are independent on each other and interrelated to each other. It relates to all dealings in money and monetary assets. So money market deals with the money related and monetary assets related dealings. It is a market purely for short-term funds. It is purely a short-term funds, that is which should be having a maturity period less than 1 year. It is not a single homogeneous product. It doesn't deal with one particular instrument. It deals with the different instruments. Has got sub markets such as call money market, bill market, etc. Money market establishes a link between RBI and banks and provides information of monetary policy and management. So money market establishes, it acts as a link between RBI and the banks, because these are the institutions which provide information on monetary policy. Variety of instruments are traded in the money market. There are variety of different varieties of instruments are traded in the money market, but remember, money market is meant only for the short term period and the maturity period will be less than 1 year. Then functions of money market, it facilitates the economic development through the provision of short term funds to industries and other sectors. Now, this money market will provide short-term funds to the organizations, industries, and the different sectors, which will help in development of the nation. It provides us a mechanism to achieve equilibrium between demand and supply, a equal state between demand and supply of short-term funds. It facilitates effective implementation of RBI's monetary policy, because money market instruments are also, because it deals with the money and monetary assets, it has to follow the policy of monetary policy of RBI. Hence, it facilitates effective implementation. It provides ample avenues for short-term forces of short-term funds. Like there won't be one or two instruments. There will be a number of different types of short-term funds that are available in the money market. It provides funds to meet short-term needs. The main purpose is to meet the short-term requirements. It enhances capital formation through savings and investments. It helps employment generation. It helps to control the inflation. It provides funds to government to meet its deficits. Serves as a wide range of saving instruments to select from and invest their savings. These are the objectives of short-term, money market instruments. Then after money market, we have the capital market. Money market deals with the short-term funds. Opposite of the money market is your capital market, which deals with the long-term sources of funds. The term capital market refers to the institutional arrangements for facilitating the borrowings and lending of long-term funds. As I mentioned, it is concerned with those private savings, individuals as well as corporates, that are turned into investments through new capital issues and also new public loans floated by the government and semi-government bodies. So basically, capital market is meant for the borrowing and lending of long-term sources of the funds. Usually, the time period will be more than 1 year. When we see the objectives, it ensures best possible coordination and balance between the flow of savings on one hand and flow of investments leading to capital formation on the other hand. So here, capital markets helps in having a balance of flow between the investment as well as capital formation. It directs the flow of savings into most profitable channels because it is meant for the long-term sources. So mostly these capital market instruments helps in having a profit. Investments will take place in a profitable channels, will ensure the optimum utilization of financial resources. Functions of capital markets helps in capital formation. Capital market creates the capital, helps in creating the capital. It acts as a link between savers and the investors, helps in increasing national income because capital market is meant for the long-term sources. Hence, it is one of the macro aspect of the economy. So, helps in increasing the national income, facilitates buying and selling, channelizes funds for unproductive to productive resources, promotes economic growth. Then we have two variations of the capital market. One is primary market and the other one is secondary market, which is also known as stock exchange. Primary market is also known as new issue market. As in this market, securities are sold for the first time. New securities are issued from the company. So primary market is a fresh market. We can say that it is a new issue market as the securities are issued very first time in this market. That is called your primary market. Primary market does not include finance in the form of loan from financial institutions, because when loan is issued from financial institution, it implies converting private capital into public capital. This process is called as going public. So hence, going public process cannot be in the primary market. The common securities issued in the primary market are equity shares, debentures, bonds, preference shares, and other innovative securities. Now, secondary market is opposite to your primary market. Secondary market, we call it as a stock exchange, because the market for the sale and purchase of previously issued or second-hand securities. The securities which have already issued in the primary market, or the securities which have already issued, those share securities will be dealt in the secondary market. Hence, it is also called as second-hand market, or second-hand securities will be issued in the secondary market. The securities are sold by existing investors to the other investors. In secondary market, companies get on in additional capital as securities are bought and sold between the investors only. So directly there is no capital formation, but secondary market indirectly contributes in capital formation by providing liquidity to securities of the company. So here stock exchange may not directly participate in capital creation, but indirectly, because there will be a purchase and sale of the securities between the investors takes place. Hence, it also indirectly contributes to the capital formation. Now, in the financial markets, after your capital market and the money market, we have one more important market, that is foreign exchange market. It is a decentralized worldwide market, because when we say foreign exchange, foreign, that means all countries are involved in this. So it is called as a decentralized worldwide market. The participants in the foreign exchange market include central banks, commercial banks, brokers, etc. Then the central banks monitors market movements and sentiments and intervenes according to the government policy. Foreign exchange department of major banks are linked across the world on a 24-hour basis. By 24-hour basis, because the timing will be different in different countries. Hence, it has to work 24 hours basis. The major commercial centers are at London, Amsterdam, Frankfurt, Milan, Paris, like that, etc., etc. Now, functions of foreign exchange market is purchasing power is transferred across different countries, because different countries are involved. So, purchasing power is transferred from one country to the another country. Foreign exchange market acts as a central force point wherein prices of the various currencies are discovered. Countries' prices can be easily known with the help of this foreign exchange market. Enables the investors to hedge or minimize the risk. It helps in reducing the risk. Enables the traders to arbitrage any inequalities. They can discuss, they can bargain on any of the inequalities. And trading avenue to entities who are willing to expose themselves to this particular risk. Then we have institutions in the financial markets. One of the major institution in the financial market is Securities and Exchange Board of India, SEBI. SEBI is an apex regulatory body established on 12th of April 1992. It monitors and regulates the Indian capital and securities market while ensuring to protect the interest of the investors, formulating regulations and guidelines. So, SEBI mainly established in order to protect the interest of the investors and provide regulations and guidelines to the organizations who are dealing with this stock exchange or securities market or Indian capital market. Objectives of SEBI: investor protection is the main objective, because of which the SEBI came into the picture. Prevention of fraudulent practices and malpractices. It will help in preventing the fraudulent practices or malpractices done by the organizations. To develop a code of conduct, it will give do's and don'ts to the financial intermediaries such as brokers, underwriters, to maintain the balance between statutory regulations and self-regulation. Functions of SEBI. SEBI primarily set up to protect the interest of investors. It promotes the development of securities market. It provides a platform for the stockbrokers, the intermediaries of stock market who are involved. It provides as a platform. Regulates the operations of depositories, participants, custodians of securities, foreign portfolio investors, and credit rating agencies. Now, after SEBI, we have one more financial institution in the financial market, that is Reserve Bank of India, RBI. Reserve Bank of India is the backbone of the financial system of the country. It has been entrusted by the people and government to control, supervise, and promote the flow of money in the market. Whatever the monetary transactions that the India is involved into, that is because of this RBI. When we see the objectives of RBI, addressing the issues of banknotes, whatever the banknotes that publishing or any issues related to banknotes can be addressed by the RBI. Maintaining monetary stability in the country, that is the inflow and outflow of the notes, banknotes will be maintained in a stable way. To operate the credit system and currency in the country to its own advantage. RBI should be free from any political pressure and refrain from the corrupted activities. RBI should serve as a central authority and serve as bank for all other commercial banks and authorities. It promotes the economic growth. Sorry. Then when we see the functions of RBI, it is a monetary authority because it plans and supervises the monetary policies. Financial system supervisor, it designs the parameters under which all banks of the country should work, how the bank should work, that will be decided by this RBI. Foreign exchange happens between the countries, maintained and looked after by the RBI. Issuer of currency, whatever the currency we are dealing with, that is printed and issued by this RBI. It undertakes the development of the country as its objective and invests at various places in national interest. So that is about RBI. Along with RBI, we have one more act which we are going to discuss, that is Foreign Exchange Regulations Act, FERA. FERA was a central piece of legislation governing foreign exchange transactions in India during the period of highly controlled economic regime. FERA shaped India's banking, financial system, and external economic relations for several decades. Now, FERA is a legislation that was passed in the Indian Parliament in 1973 and came into effect on Jan 1st, 1974. The major objective of introducing FERA into the country is to prevent the outflow of the Indian currency, to regulate dealings in foreign exchange and securities, to regulate the transactions indirectly affecting foreign exchange, to regulate import and export of currency and bullion, to regulate employment of foreign nationals, to regulate foreign companies, to regulate certain payments, to regulate dealings in foreign exchange and securities. So that is about FERA Act. Then we have monetary and fiscal policy. Now, monetary policy is a policy of drafting, announcing, and implementing the plan of action taken by the central bank, currency board, or other competent monetary authority of a country that controls the quantity of money in an economy and the channels by which the new money is supplied. So, monetary policy is all about, it is a policy which deals with the money inflow and outflow. Monetary policy consists of the management of money supply and interest rates aimed at meeting macroeconomic objectives such as controlling inflation, consumption, growth, and liquidity. Monetary policy objectives are rapid economic growth, helps in economic growth. It will bring out this price stability of goods and services, exchange rate, that is foreign exchange rate stability, balance of payments equilibrium, full employment, neutrality of money, money must be neutrally maintained, equal income distribution among the various levels of group of people, control business cycles, promote export and substitute imports, improvement in standard of living, control of inflation and deflation. These are the objectives of monetary policy. Then we have Monetary Policy Committee. Currently, it is a Monetary Policy Committee that decides the policy interest rates required to achieve the inflation targets. The Monetary Policy Committee is constituted by 6 members appointed by the central government as part of Section 45ZB of the amended RBI Act 1934. The Monetary Policy Committee meets at least 4 times annually. The quorum of MPC meeting is 4 members. Each member has one vote. However, the governor has a second or casting vote in the event of equality of the votes. After the conclusion of every Monetary Policy Committee meeting, the resolution adopted by MPC is published. RBI is required to publish the monetary policy report once every 6 months. This policy explains the sources of inflation and the forecast of inflation for 6 to 8 months ahead. This is about Monetary Policy Committee. The next one we have is fiscal policy. Fiscal policy is one of the key tools that government attempts to regulate and influence the economy to achieve macroeconomic goals. In simple words, fiscal policy refers to the use of government spending and tax policy to influence the path of economy over a time. The fiscal policy is after collecting the tax from the public of that particular nation, how the government is going to spend the amount for the welfare of the society, for the welfare of the for the welfare and the development of the nation. That deals with this fiscal policy. Fiscal policy refers to the budgetary policy of government, which involves the government controlling its level of spending and taxation within the economy. Objectives of fiscal policy: development by effective mobilization of resources, that is development of the country by using the resources effectively, reduction in inequalities of income and wealth, price stability and control of inflation, employment generation, it generates the employment, reducing the deficit in the balance of the payments, the negative impact will be reduced in balance of payments, increasing national income, development of the infrastructure, that is development of the infrastructure facilities in the country. So these are the objectives of fiscal policy. Then another topic we have is Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management, FRBM Act. The bill was introduced in the Parliament of India in the year 2000 by the Atal Bihari Vajpayee government to provide legal backing to the fiscal discipline to be institutionalized in the country. Subsequently, FRBM Act was passed in the year 2003. It is an act of the Parliament that sets targets for the government of India to establish financial discipline, improvement the management of public funds, strengthen the fiscal prudence, and reduces its fiscal deficits. So, in order to have a financial discipline in the country and improvement of how the public funds are managed within the country, and any negative impact physical deficits must be reduced. Because of all these reasons, FRBM Act was introduced in India. Now, with this, block 4 was completed. Now, block 5, you have international agreements or international environment. International environment, we are going to study about GATT and WTO. Now, the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, GATT, and the World Trade Organization, WTO, are two primarily frameworks that have shaped international trade rules since 1947. While GATT was set of provisional rules primarily for trade in goods, and the WTO is a permanent international organization with a broader mandate that includes services and intellectual property rights. Now, after GATT, WTO came into existence. GATT was the initial framework which is used, which deals with the international trade rules since 1947. After GATT, WTO came into existence. The major difference between GATT and WTO is GATT deals mainly with the trade in goods, whereas WTO, along with the trade in goods, it also deals with the services as well as the intellectual property rights. Then, when we see the overview of GATT 1947 to 1994, GATT was established after World War II to reduce trade barriers and boost economic recovery. When we see the establishment, yeah, it is signed in October 1947 by 23 nations and came into effect on January 1st, 1948. The primary objective of GATT is to liberalize global trade, reduce the restrictions of global trade by reducing tariffs, taxes, quotas, and subsidies. The key principles of GATT is most favored nations. Any trade advantage given to one member must be extended to all other members. So the equal distribution of advantage will be given by all the member nations who are part of this GATT. Mutual reduction of trade barriers between the nations. So any trade barriers are reduced, it will be mutually agreed among the nations. Over 8 rounds of negotiations, it reduced average tariffs on industrial goods from 40% to 5%. But the limitation of GATT is it lacked a formal institutional structure, had a slow dispute settlement process, and did not cover services or intellectual property rights. Because of these limitations, WTO came into existence. Right from 1955 to till present, we are following the WTO rules and regulations. Just a minute. Right. Then WTO, that is World Trade Organization, was created through the Marrakesh Agreement at the end of the Uruguay round to provide a permanent, more powerful framework. So hence GATT has been replaced with WTO, that is World Trade Organization, which is launched on January 1st, 1995 with headquarters in Geneva. Its scope is not only restricted to trade in goods but also in services and intellectual property rights. Hence, it covers goods, services, as well as intellectual property rights. The institutional structure of GATT, the institutional structure of WTO, unlike GATT, it is a legal entity. GATT was not a legal entity. There was no organizational structure for GATT, but WTO, it is a legal entity with a permanent secretariat and a unified package of agreements binding on all members. When we see the settlements will take place in a faster way, more automatic way, and enforceable mechanism where rules cannot be blocked by individual members. Now, when we see the core agreements under WTO and GATT, these provides the basic principles for the three main components of the international trade. International trade related agreements, we have big three agreements, that is GATT, GATS, TRIPS. GATT means General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade in the year 1994. The updated version of the original is 1947. Treaty focuses on trade in goods. This particular agreement focuses on trade in goods. Now, GATS is a general agreement on trade in services. The first multinational agreement covering services like banking, telecommunications, and tourism, which is a part of WTO. And TRIPS, trade related aspect of intellectual property rights, sets the minimum standards for protecting patents, copyrights, and trademarks. So GATT, GATS, and TRIPS are the part of WTO agreements. Now, individually, when you see agreements on trade, we have agreement on agriculture, which deals with the market access and reducing the domestic subsidies. Sanitary and psychosanitary measures, rules for food safety and animal plant health standards, technical barriers to trade, ensures technical regulations and industrial standards does not create unnecessary obstacles. Then trims, that is investment measures, prohibits investment rules that restrict trade. Subsidies and countervailing measures regulates the use of subsidies and action to counter them. Anti-dumping agreements, we have rules on how members can respond to dumping, exporting at unfairly low prices. Then we have institutional and plurilateral agreements, dispute settlement understanding, the legal framework for resolving conflict between members. Then a trade policy review mechanism, a system to ensure transparency in national trade policies. Agreement on government procurement, GPA, in plurilateral agreements regarding state purchasing. Agreement on trade facilitations, that is TFA, focusing on simplifying and modernizing custom procedures. This is about GATT and WTO. Along with GATT and WTO, we have few other international institutions which fall under the International Environment of Business. In that first one we have is BRICS, is an informal intergovernmental alliance of major emerging economies. Originally formed to coordinate economic efforts, it has evolved into a significant geopolitical bloc representing global south and advocating for the multipolar world order. So members of the BRIC is established in 2009 by Brazil, Russia, India and China. South Africa joined in 2010. So hence the first initial letters of these country names are termed as BRICS. The recent growth when we see expanded in 24-25 to include even Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, UAE and Indonesia are also member countries in this BRICS agreement now. Global impact, when we see the bloc represents over 45% of the world's population and a significant share of the global trade. BRICS now collectively surpasses the G7 in GDP based on the purchasing power parity. Created the new development bank to fund infrastructure projects in developing the nations. Actively promotes de-dollarization by using local currencies for international trade settlements. Advocates for a global system less dependent on Western-led institutions like International Monetary Fund and United Nations. Energy influence, inclusion of major oil producers given the bloc massive control over global energy reserves. India currently leads the group focusing on digital public infrastructure and AI. Recently introduced a partner country status for the nations like Malaysia, Thailand, and Nigeria. This is about BRICS agreement. Then we have another topic related to G20 and G8. Now, G20 means Group of 20. It is a primary institutional forum for global economic cooperations and governance. It brings together the world's major economies to discuss financial stability, climate change, and sustainable development. The G20 is the world's premier forum for international economic cooperation, representing 85% of the global GDP and two-thirds of the world's population. It consists of 19 major nations along with the European Union and African Union, operating through a rotating annual presidency rather than a permanent headquarters. Currently, United States holds 2026 presidency, hosting the summit in Miami with a core focus on economic innovation and artificial intelligence. This is about the Group 20, that is G20 countries. Then we have G8, that is Group of 8, was an elite forum of world's leading industrialized democracies that meet annually to discuss global issues like economic growth, security, and energy. It consisted of Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, and United Kingdom, and United States and Russia, with the European Union also represented. Originally formed as G7 in 1970, it became G8 when Russia formally joined in 1998 to signal its integration into global economy. However, the group reverted into G7 in 2014 after Russia was suspended the following in annexations of Crimea. Today, G7 remains active, focusing on democratic values and global financial stability, while G8 is considered as departed. So we say it as G8, but because Russia initially joined, but later it has been suspended because of the Crimea reason. Now there is no G8, so the name is G8, but still it is G7 only because Russia got suspended. Hence, G8 is departed. Now G7 is in active. Then we have a trade policy. Trade policy is a set of rules, laws, and agreements that a government uses to manage its international trade activities, specifically its imports and exports. So, trade policy, the name itself, it is clear. It is related to trade, that is imports and exports, and a policy means it is a agreement. It is a rules and regulations which are provided, specially related to imports and exports. In 2026, global trade policy is increasingly defined as a shift from volume-led expansion to strategic protectionism and securing of resilient supply chains. The core tools or the components of trade policy are tariffs, that is, taxes on import goods designed to generate revenue and protect domestic industries by making foreign products more expensive. Quotas, the limits on the quantity or value of specific goods that can be imported during a set period or to prevent market saturation. Subsidies, that is a financial support provided to producers. Non-tariff barriers, that are the regulations, standards, and licensing requirements that can act as subtle barrier to trade. This is about trade policy. Then we have multinational corporations. Multinational corporations is a business entity that owns or controls production or service facilities in more than one country, typically with a head office in its home nation and operations in several host countries. So MNC is a organization, is a big entity, is a big nation which controls, owns the production or service facilities in more than one country. To expand internationally, MNCs choose from the various entry strategies based on their risk tolerance, available resources, and regulatory environment of the target market. So, how these MNCs entering into the other countries? That includes your market entry strategies. The various ways of these MNCs entering into other countries are: one is exporting. The least cost and low risk method is where products are manufactured in home country and sold in the other country, abroad country. That is called as export. So export is one of the entry strategy for MNC to which easily can enter into the other countries, which is very at less cost, and the risk is very less. The another method is licensing and franchising, a contractual agreement where a local firm licensee pays royalties to the use of MNC brand technology or business model. Like we can see in India now, we have McDonald's, KFC. All these are because of the licensing and franchising. They enter into a contract with the company, and whatever the sales they will make, in that the royalty will be paid to these MNC companies. Then we have joint venture, an MNC partner with a local company to create a new shared entity. So it is a joint venture, MNC company joins with the local entity and they will run the business. So that is a joint venture. Then wholly owned subsidies. The MNCs owns 100% of the foreign operations, providing maximum control but requiring the highest investment. So here there will be no intervention of the host country, but there will be complete intervention, complete takeover done by the this MNCs. They will own 100% of the local companies and they will control the organization. Then greenfield venture, building a new facility from the ground up. They are starting completely a new company in other country. That is greenfield venture. Acquisition, buying an existing local company to gain an immediate market presence. So this is acquisition, means acquiring the existing company in the local market. Then turnkey projects, A firm agrees to set up an entire operating plan for a foreign client and hand over the key once it is fully functional. So these are the various strategies, various market entry strategies of an MNC. Then advantages and disadvantages of multinational corporations in developing countries. One is capital advantages. When we see, one is the capital flow, because the foreign companies get establishes their company in the host country. Hence, there will be a capital flow from one country to the another company. Another country is one of the advantage. Technology will also transfers. That is, it may be a machinery related technology, or it may be related to any other technology. When company establishes in the other country, automatically the technology will also get transferred from one country to the another country. Job creation, because the new company comes up in the host country, so hence it will create the job employment opportunities in both manufacturing as well as servicing sector. Infrastructure development. Development of local transport, power, and digital networks will take place with the help of MNCs. Skill development. Training programs that enhances the local workforce expertise. Export growth. Improvement in the country's foreign exchange reserves, because company got established in different countries. Now countries will deal with the foreign exchanges. Quality products. Increased competition leads to better quality and lower prices for the consumers. Wide variety of available products will be increased. That leads to reducing prices for the consumers. So these are the advantages of multinational corporations with related to developing countries. Then when we see the disadvantages, one of the disadvantage of MNC is profit repatriation. Majority of the earnings are sent back to the home country, because MNC, the home country will take back the profits. That is one of the disadvantage. Local competition. Small domestic business often struggle to survive in the host country itself. That is one of the disadvantage. Economic dependency. Over reliance on foreign firms for growth and technologies. Resource depletion, high consumption of local raw material and energy, because the resources are very limited. But these resources will be effectively used by these foreign countries. That will helpful in developing the foreign country, but not the domestic country. Hence, that leads to the completion of the evaporation of the resources. Environmental impact, potential for pollution due to weaker local regulations. Political lobbying, undue influence of political government policy and decision making. Income inequalities, widening the gap between skilled corporate staff and general labor force. These are the disadvantages of multinational corporations. With this, we have completed block 5. Right, these are the topics which we have discussed in the previous classes and in the current class. Let me give you a briefing on what I have covered. See, in block 5, we have GATT, WTO, and international agreements. In that, we have discussed GATT, WTO, various agreements of GATT and WTO. We have also discussed BRICS, G20, G8, that is your unit 13. Then unit 14, you have foreign trade policy, which we have discussed trade policy. Then unit 15, we have multinational corporations. We have discussed about MNCs, entry strategies of MNCs, and advantages and disadvantages of MNCs in the developing countries. This is about block 5. And in block 4, we have financial institutions agreements. In that unit 10, we had financial markets, where we have discussed about money market and capital market, foreign exchange market. Then unit 11, you have regulations of the market, that is SEBI and RBI and FERA, which we have already discussed. And in unit 12, we have monetary and fiscal policy. We have discussed about monetary policy, fiscal policy, as well as FRBM. That is about block 4. which we have discussed today. And in block 3, we have industrial policy. In the previous class, we have discussed unit 7, industrial reforms, that is industrial policy 1991, liberalization, privatization, and globalization. Then industrial sickness, SICA, NCLT, competition policy and law, which we have discussed today itself, that is competition policy, law, Competition Act 2002, and Competition Commission. So with this, we have completed all 5 blocks with all the units. I hope the class is very much fruitful and useful to you all. I hope you have understood the topics well. All the best for the exams. Prepare well and do well. Have a nice day. Thank you all.